everyone. How are you? This is Taryn, and this is Just Like You, episode number 17. I'm on a little early today because my guest wants to make sure she can get on okay. But we are here every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And here is my guest right now. Let's see if I can get you on here, D Mad. D Mad, can you see me? Donna, yay!
Hey, we made it.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, honey. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good.
Yay!
Excited, I get excited to be on the show.
Yay! There's your birthday boo. She's on the show. She's saying hi to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey Ursula.
So I was just letting everyone know we are here 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time every Tuesday, just like you, everyday people, amazing stories. If you have a story, and we know you do, and we know you do, please get in contact with me. I'd love to have you on the show. This show is about positivity, positive vibes. We have lots going on in our world today, and I just think it's great to showcase so many amazing people doing so many amazing things. I just, super appreciate Donna you coming on the show. And if anybody's out there, I think one of my other colleagues, I think Amy is on, and Amy and actually, I think that might be her that just joined. But Amy and you, D Mad, you guys got to connect because you guys are both actually great people to know. You guys got to connect. Um,
Oh, awesome.
yeah. So, like I was saying, yeah, if you have a story and we know you do, please get in contact with me. I'd love to have you on the show. We are booking guests now for 2021. So I'm excited about that. The show is going awesome, going great. And I just appreciate it. And yeah, I'm looking for a few good men too. So some men to be on the show as well. So I'm looking forward to having more men in 2021 because, they have inspiring stories too. So we want to hear from you guys. So D Mad. Okay, so guys, D Mad and I go way back to
Yes.
our LA roots. Donna, let's see, has seen me laugh, has seen me cry, has seen me everything in between. I think D Mad, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I mean we go way back.
yeah, we go
Many years. We were neighbors literally across the hall from each other in our apartment building.
in our apartment building in West Hollywood, California. And now we have both moved on to brighter pastures, but we won't forget our LA upbringing. And so Donna's been a great friend to me, and she's also super, super talented. I'm going to let you, Donna, share your story. But again, just anybody who has any questions for us, definitely let us know in the comment section. And Donna, are you
Yeah.
ready?
Yeah.
I don't even know how it
I'm
goes, but um,
I'm ready.
hello, Lucia. Um, go ahead and start us out. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to be where you are today.
Yes. Well, like Taryn was saying, we were both neighbors in LA, and I think about 8 years ago, I moved to New York City. So I live and work in New York, but my journey actually started in California. I grew up in Fontana, which is about an hour east of LA. And I always had an interest in the film industry since I was a little kid. I think my first memory actually was going to the theater. I don't even remember what movie or what theater it
Mhm.
was, but I just remember walking in, and I think the movie had already started, or maybe there was trailers or something. But I just remember seeing the track lighting on the floor, and everything's dark, and I must have been like 3 or 4, and just kind of be fascinated by the fact that like everything's dark except these little lights, and then get to sit and look at this big screen with all these images and
Hey, Amy. Amy just
just
joined.
kind of
Amy, my friend Amy, who I said you got to connect with, she just joined us, Donna. You guys got to connect.
oh,
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll definitely connect
Yeah.
afterwards. Um, and so that's sort of where it started. I think, there was something about watching a story play on screen that really just kind of fascinated me. And the more I went to the movies, the more I wanted to be a part of the film
Mhm.
industry. I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do when I was a kid. I just knew that I wanted to be a part of it. And As I got older, I wanted to, but I wasn't sure how to say it because I come from, I'm first generation. Both of my parents are from Mexico. And so it's very kind of conservative. And generally speaking, you want your kids to, go to school, get an education, but it's generally to get some sort of like a different career, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. Nobody really says, we want you to go into the arts. And it's not necessarily because they think art is a bad thing or a creative field is a bad thing. It's really more because, my parents sacrificed a lot. They worked really hard to, buy a house here and raise four kids and make sure that we got the right education. And so it was just like, if you go to college and you become either a doctor or a lawyer or some kind of profession that's like that, uh, it's a guarantee of social mobility. If someone says, my daughter or my son is a doctor, then they went to college, they went to med school, they have a license to practice. It's there's a lot of weight behind that word. Whereas if you say my kid, my son, my daughter works in the arts or works in the creative field, it doesn't carry that much weight. It doesn't really imply all those things of like education and social mobility. And not that you can't have that, but it's not something that most immigrant families think of. And so part of me was I really wanted to pursue a career in film. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to make my parents proud. And so it's just kind of like figuring out how to do that. And so I wasn't sure. I grew up in Fontana. I don't have any family that's in the film industry whatsoever. So even like who would I reach out to sort of like mentor me or to talk about like, is this feasible? Like, or should I just not even try? And so I decided to pursue law instead. So I graduated from high school. I was going to UC Riverside and I was studying English at the time. I was an English major, and the idea was I was going to graduate from UCR, apply to law school, and become some kind of a lawyer. But that itch of wanting to be in the film industry wasn't going away. And so it was at that pivotal moment, I think, like towards my beginning of my sophomore year, it's like, okay, I could either go this way, even though I'm not sure what's going to happen, or if I'll end up being happy, or, like, what if I go through all this, become a lawyer, and I feel miserable and I'm stuck because I've just spent so much time and money pursuing this career, or I can actually go for it and see what happens. Both of them were unknowns, but I felt like if I pursued a film career, at least I knew that I was doing something that I really wanted to do, that was, my passion. And so I just decided. I decided to transfer to another university that had a film program. I went to UC Santa Cruz, which is in Northern California, sort of south of San Francisco. I told my parents. They were not
Yeah.
too keen on.
How did that
Yeah,
go, D-Man?
that they were not too keen on the idea. They didn't like it because one, again, it's like you're going to study film. What are you going to do with this film degree? Like what can you do with it? And you're going away, because at Riverside is probably like 25 minutes drive from my parents' house. So I was just commuting. And the idea of going to Santa Cruz, it's like I can't commute. It's a 6-hour drive from Fontana all the way to Santa Cruz. So I had to move out and move to the dorms. And generally speaking, first generation conservative Latin family, and me being a woman, that doesn't happen. They weren't against it. They weren't flat out no, but they were worried about me going off into the world and sort of like without them being around. But they were understanding. They knew that I that I really wanted to do this, that this was important to me, and that it meant a lot to me. I think they were more worried about what was going to happen to me while I was up there. because, you know, if something happens, mom and dad are not
Right.
going to be
You
there.
were far, kind of far.
Yes. And what am I going to do once I'm done? What can I do with this
Hmm.
degree that says that I'm graduating with film and digital arts? Like, you know, it's not the same as
Yeah.
like an English degree or a degree in physics or chemistry or something like that. It's literally like, what does that, you know, what does that mean? You know, am I going to go work at, you know, Blockbuster, which was around at the time or something like that? You know, like what can you do with
Mhm.
this degree? And so they just kind of like were like, okay, if this is really what you want to do, um, go for it. And so I transferred over to UC Santa Cruz.
That,
I did my,
by the way, it was
I'm sorry.
that was cranberry juice. It wasn't red wine. I just
Oh,
want.
I was like, you're having red wine without me. You didn't tell me that we could have
Hey, somebody
that.
commented, GMAT, I can relate. My immigrant Greek parents had the same mindset.
Yeah,
So
they know
they
exactly
that
what I'm
yeah.
talking about. It's just sort of like, you know, just being very protective
Mhm.
and not wanting you to leave too far from the nest, and not so much because of a definitely not from a controlling aspect. It's just it's the unknown, you know, and just afraid of, you know, something happening and them not being there to help you.
Right.
Um,
Ursula said Blockbuster, you took it way back.
I did. Just that, I guess that dates me quite a bit. But, you know, when I graduated, Blockbuster was sort of on the decline. So it wasn't that long ago, but, you know, it was
So
a little while ago.
so how did you kind of get over that hurdle then? We're going into the advice you'd kind of, what did you learn? What lessons did you learn? How did you get over that hurdle from, okay, so here I was going to a local college,
Hmm.
pursuing something that I thought my family wanted me to do, to, okay, kind of, bucking the trend a little bit and going now telling your parents you want to move to a different place and you want to do a new, you want to study in the film industry. What kind of things or what lessons did you learn from kind of, taking that leap? And I'm sure, you're also I don't know if you said it or not, but you're also the oldest. So, you're
Yes.
the first one, and that was their first time, obviously having somebody to, you know, that's going to jump off the bridge, if you will. So, how did you learn? What lessons did you learn there?
I learned that it's okay to take risks,
Ah, okay.
and that to trust your gut, because my gut feeling was like, we have to try this. I didn't
Okay.
know what was going to happen, but I think sometimes you just have to take that risk, and also just sort of trusting yourself.
Oh,
Like, if this is really something that I want to do, then I'm gonna go for it, and I'm gonna put in the work. You know, I would say as well. It's just like,
yeah.
if you really want to do something, you know, and in your heart of hearts, you know that this is what you really want to do,
Hmm.
pursue it, but don't, you know, tiptoe over it. Like, really, really go for it. Really give it your all, because this might be that door that opens up. And if you don't really, you know, go through it and put all your efforts into it, that opportunity might go
Yeah.
away. You know, had I not um, decided, had I not made the choice to go to Santa Cruz and was just like, you know what, I said I was going to be a lawyer and I'm just going to stick with it. You know, I don't know what life
Would do that.
I would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be as happy
Hmm.
as I am today.
I like trying.
Um,
I think that that's something that we as women, we definitely kind of, have a hard time doing that sometimes, right? Like trusting our gut.
yeah,
I know even you and I, we have conversations sometimes about, should I send this? Should I do that? Is this the right thing to say? And it's challenging. So it's like with that trust your gut moment, decided really theoretically the rest of your life, you know?
yeah,
And so it obviously you took a good you did took a good leap of faith, if you will. And so it's turned out. So let everyone kind of know a little bit about, now a little bit about what you're doing and how that risk, if you will, paid off. Paid off.
yeah. Um, so now I'm pursuing, I've been an assistant editor for quite some time, and I'm trying to make the jump into editing here in New York. And I've been cutting some short films, and I've gotten additional editor credit on some films, on some independent films so I've gotten experience on editing on actual features and on smaller projects. And I think the thing of just sort of, had I not
Mhm.
taken the risk, I don't think I would have ever moved to New York. I've always wanted to live here, and I literally got the opportunity because through working in LA as an assistant editor, I met so many people that started their journey in New York and moved to LA. And it was through them that I was able to make contacts and meet with people out here in New York. And then I think it was like in 2012, I think I told you, I was like, I think I'm going to move to New York.
Yeah.
I'm just going to see what happens. And again, it was just another like risk, another like leap of faith because um, I was living in LA and they weren't going to, generally speaking, my job is freelance. So it's very hard to find work on the other side of the country if you're not there. And so it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to move out here. I'm going to get an Airbnb for about a month and a half and try to get an apartment and try to find a job. And I figured it was scary because I didn't really have any friends out here. I didn't know anybody. It was just based off connections through email chains that my friends, introduced me to people out here in New York. But I felt the same way. I felt like if I didn't do this now, like I'm never gonna do it.
Yeah.
Another door open, and if I don't go through this door, it's gonna close, and that's it. There's never going to be a perfect scenario where some opportunity presents itself and it's exactly how you dreamed it would
Right.
be, and it's
Yeah.
literally just pack your suitcase and go, and everything's going to be fine. There's always a little bit of a risk factor. Nothing in life is perfect, so you can't expect an opportunity to be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and I think I remember you doing that. I remember you going out there and living. I feel like you had a roommate or something at the beginning. Didn't you have a roommate?
Yeah, so I did have a roommate. I was renting a room
Yeah.
from my good friend Lauren, who she actually moved to Australia. My friend Laura, and but she had a room, an Airbnb. She was renting out a room through Airbnb, and I rented it for like a month and a half.
So, I mean,
So
I guess, just thinking about, so it's interesting because I'm listening and I've never really had this conversation with you before, but, you're very humble. We've been talking today about you coming on the Instagram live and, you're very quiet. And I think it's very interesting that for someone so humble and so quiet, you took those big risks.
yeah, I mean,
Like you're
I guess
was that calculated risk, but it was still a risk. And so I guess my question is, there's someone out there, DMAT, who's like you, who's humble and
yeah,
yet thinking about taking a big risk, you know?
yeah, and to them, I would say go for it. You only live once, and sometimes you just feel it, and you're like, okay, if I don't do this, it's never going to happen again,
Yeah.
and you just have to take it. I didn't know, both times I didn't, when I was thinking of transferring to UC Santa Cruz and actually pursuing this, I didn't know what was going to come of it. I didn't, know if I would end up studying and being in Santa Cruz and after the first semester and just thinking, oh my God, I made the worst mistake of my life. Or if I came out here and to New York and not been able to find an apartment or been able to find work. But to me, it always felt like, well, I could always go back. I
Mhm.
felt like if I failed, it's okay. I could start over.
Mhm.
I always felt like I can live with the failure, but I couldn't live not trying it. Like I didn't want to look back and be like, I should have tried. I didn't want the regret. I could live with like doing it and it not working out, but I can't live with not trying.
So the question on,
And so that's sort of what,
oh, can you hear me?
uh, a little bit, you're sort of breaking up.
I think I'm freezing up, but can you hear me okay?
Okay.
So
Yeah, I can hear you now.
the question on the table is now several years in and having credits behind your name. What does your family think now?
They're very supportive and they're very happy for me that it all worked out. I think my mom was, especially my mom, I think was really worried. She was just kind of worried of like, how am I going to make a living? How am I going to survive? Especially, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but in film, it's freelance, so it's not like you work for a company and you're working, you know, 365 days out of the year, or, you know, 52 weeks out of the year. It's just like, it's from project to project. So you're constantly looking for work. So as soon as you're almost done with one project, you sort of start looking for the next job. And so my mom was very much worried about that in the beginning. But I think now that I've been doing this for so long, she sort of understands that
Yeah.
and is comfortable with it because she knows that I can do this. And so I think in the beginning they were just sort of nervous because it's not, you know, it's not something that most, you know, conservative families really want their kids to pursue. And also the fact that it's kind of like freelance. They're like, okay, well now you're in it, but so you work on this thing for 9 months and then you got to look for another job, you know, that kind of a thing. But I think now they're okay with it and they sort of understand it now through the years and me sort of like talking about work and stuff.
So what kind of things? So we got, you know, we got trust your gut, we
Hmm.
got take risks, and so I think about, you know, some I've heard some people say that you know, you should, when you take a risk, you should kind of get your boat closer to the dock. I guess you know how they say like get your boat closer to the dock before you jump off the dock or whatever. What things would you tell someone to do who might be interested in the industry to get them closer to the dock?
To the dog. Um,
Um,
I
so
think
that they can
it would
take
be just to sort of,
that calculated risk, if you will.
I think it would be to just sort of try and
Closer to
try to like,
the boat closer to the dock.
oh, sorry, Taryn, you're kind of breaking up. Did you say closer to the, okay, closer to the dock? Um, I think I would probably say to
Yeah, I know.
just
Go ahead.
kind of like reach out, try to see if there's something in your area that you can,
You're breaking up. We're both
like
breaking
it,
up now, Donna, again.
or both break it up. Okay. I think I heard what you said about putting the boat closer to the dock.
Uh-huh.
Is that was the,
Hmm.
I think I would say, you know, to try to reach out, try to like if it's a younger person, maybe go to school and
Hmm.
pursue a film degree. You're going to meet lots of different people, you know, talk to your professors. They might know someone who they can, you know, reach out to and for you to speak with
Hmm.
and sort of get a feel for what it is. And also, and if you already graduated from college and you're sort of like thinking about it, then the next thing would be, I would say, is if you're in an area that has like film festivals, there's always, you know, that's always a great outlet to a great place to tap into and see if you can speak to somebody who, you know, works at a festival and talk to them about how that works, you know, how they come up with a lineup and things like that. And they might know someone who knows someone. It's really just sort of like outreaching and trying to gain as much knowledge as you can. And then depending on where you live, I mean, New York and LA are probably the bigger ones that have an industry, but it's not just those two places. I mean, Louisiana has a really good industry as well. So if you're like in the New Orleans area, there's definitely a film industry there. Atlanta has a huge film industry now and visual effects facilities. So it's really just sort of, you know, I would try, if you're not in New York or in LA or any of those areas, try locally and then sort of expand from there.
So,
And if you are willing and have the resources, just think about maybe moving to one of these areas that has an industry if you really wanted to pursue.
so the next question, DMAD, I think that's a good answer. The next question we have on the table, which I think is a good one too. How
Hmm.
how has the industry treated you as a woman? Do you see equal opportunity,
Um,
or is that coming still?
it is. I mean, it's still coming,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's better now than it was before. When I first started, the first maybe 4 or 5 years, I was usually the only woman in
No.
the room.
Okay.
Sometimes there'd be another one, and there'd be two of us. But I would say in the last, 5 or 6 years, there's been lots of women that are now in the industry. And I actually just finished this independent film where it was pretty much all of us were women except for the director. So everyone
Okay.
else was a woman. So there's definitely, I think people are much more open to it, and there's more women. And I think that you should just, you know, really just go for it. And if you're a woman, try to reach out to other women that are in the industry in that particular field that you want to enter, whether it's in, I'm in editing, but maybe you want to be in, production, and maybe you want to work in, be a director of photography, or be a director, or be a writer. So then, try to see if you can meet with other women, and talk to them about their journey and how they got there, and connect with as many women as possible, I think. And also there are a lot of men too that are very encouraging, that
Ah,
that are not,
okay.
like having women in the cutting room or in the writers room, and are very pro women, and are trying to get more women in. So there's definitely a change, and that's good. And I think as years pass, you'll see more and more women, and representation of minorities. I think the conversations are started. People are very encouraging, and very supportive.
So, DMAT, I know you're not going to believe this, but you have almost made it through. We have 5 more minutes. DMAT was worried.
Wow.
Like I said, she's so quiet and humble. And I told her it's going to go fast because she's talking with me. So, DMAT, in the last 5 minutes,
Yeah.
anything else you want people
Oh, you kind of broke up a little bit there, Taryn. Sorry.
free? I said, anything else you want people
Um,
to know about you and what you hold?
I think, it's a little bit weird right now with the pandemic in terms
Mm-hmm.
of what the future holds. But I think I'm pretty optimistic. I think there's definitely opportunity there. Obviously, everybody's sort of thinking what it'll be like post COVID. Um, but I think it'll, there's always a change. The film industry changes a lot. We went from, just being a silent film, to having sound, to color, to visual effects, and now, we can tell pretty much any story in a really vivid, and, the sound, everything is just like so much better now, I think, with technology, and just with the creative process. I think it's sort of unlimited of what kind of stories can be told. So I think for me, I'm excited for what's coming along. I'm excited to be able to move on to editing full time, and I'm excited to be able to try to do my best and tell stories that people can relate to. And I think, it's going to be interesting in the years to come, especially after COVID. I think it'll be interesting how the stories that are going to come out, how people are going to talk about, the human experience and stuff. So I'm actually excited. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be good.
So, another comment. Make sure you
Mm-hmm.
mention you are an absolute foodie and know all the restaurants in Brooklyn and Midtown. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
Donna is an absolute foodie and does know all the restaurants in Brooklyn and Midtown. I mean, she knows all the restaurants like everywhere. She comes here and tells me where I should eat. So, yeah,
Yeah, I am a bit of a foodie.
but that's
Um,
good. We
so and Yeah, and I'm looking forward to actually when all the restaurants can pop up, and I can visit them all, and try new things, and socialize with folks again.
can you hear me, Matt?
Uh, I, you
Yep.
broke up a little.
I know. I'm looking forward to trying all the restaurants too. All of them. in New York, Chicago, everywhere I go. We're both looking forward to traveling again because we travel together as well. So I think, that's another
Yes.
that the future holds for both of us is getting back out there and hopefully getting to travel. So on our,
Yes. Fingers crossed.
I know. Fingers crossed. We want to be safe, but we also are ready to get out. Well, DMAT, I just want to thank you. Like I said, I mean, you made it through. I think you have a really great story because I do think you're humble. I think you're super smart. I think you're talented. I think you're all those things. And, um, you definitely just keep a low profile, I guess, for all the amazing
Yeah.
work that you do. So I think, thank you for coming on the show. I thank you for, the courage to come on the show and share your story. And I hope
Thank you.
that
Thank you for having me.
if there's someone else out there, what we got from Donna's story is, to take those risks, trust your gut. She had some things that, she had Amy said you inspire us because
Oh, thank you, Amy.
yeah, you guys are gonna have to
That's
for sure. Both you guys are great. So, and one else gave you the praying hands and the heart. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
That's
So
much appreciated. I'm really glad that I did this. I was so nervous.
you were nervous, but I said it's like a conversation with me, and we have 20 conversations a day, DMAT.
That's true. That's true.
But you were doing some great things, and there's some people out there that are like you, like super talented, humble, but don't know how to take that risk, right? So I hope we've inspired
Yeah.
people to to take that risk, to get the boat close to the dock, and to not necessarily we're not saying like buck your family's rules or whatever, but we are saying that have that gut that tells there's something that you want to do or be, that you can do or be that, you know and so
Yeah.
that's the exciting part about life.
Yes. Yes, definitely. And I think it's it's important. It's important to be close to your family, but it's also important to be your true self. And if your true
Right.
self is telling you to pursue something, then trust your gut and go for it.
Yeah, and that's what that's really what I'm gonna leave it at that. Trust your gut and go for it and be your true self, because that's what this show is about positivity, trusting your gut, being authentic, and being your true self. So with that,
Definitely.
I'm going to sign off here. Again, this is Just Like You, Everyday People, Amazing Stories. If you have a story or know someone who does, please get in contact with me. I'd love to have you as a guest. DMAT, I'm going to call you in a few minutes. I love you
Okay.
as always.
Love you too.
And
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for everyone to tuning in. Thank you.
everybody's giving you thumbs up and prayer hands and hearts and all that good stuff. So
Awesome.
love you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Love you too.
Bye,
Yes.
everyone.
Bye.